Hey guys, it's Thunder here, and in this video, it's time for yet another Need for Speed Most Wanted car build. Oh, you think it'd be another Need for Speed Most Wanted car build, but not so much. Of course, as you know, in the last video, the Sonic Speedstar pretty much destroyed the leaderboard, so we're going back to the drawing board. And in this case, we're going to be, excuse me, showing off 3 cars per video, still taking them around the Petersburg track, but only going to be for about 4 laps. 3-4 laps, and basically we're just going to be it's going to be more about how the cars drive rather than how fast they can go. So in this first car out of 3 that's going to be shown here, requested by Q96, is the Hennessey Venom GT, which only has the following for customization options. These 3. Interestingly enough, the mod has a high quality and a standard version. The high quality version is the one you're seeing here, and it's basically the coupe of Venom GT, whereas I think the standard one is like the Spider, so possibly, but I personally went with this because, you know, it looks really nice, and I prefer the hardtop variant anyways, because that's just how I am with most cars. I'm going with the Unique 3 paint because those 3 unique vinyls are just special kind of paint colors. I really like this white, so we're going to go with that, and away we go. Right, well, let's see how we fare off here with this car. Now, of course, as you probably were to be expecting, this car does, in fact, replace the Lotus Elise, because that's essentially what it's based off of. It's a heavily modified Lotus Elise / Exige that is meant to go ballistically fast, but handling may not play to its strengths as much here. It's never really been known, I don't think, how the handling is on this car, because Hennessey always designed this in mind to be the fastest car, or in terms of miles per hour. When this thing has hit over 270 miles an hour, it's basically, and whilst I don't think it holds the speed record because I think it had to go both ways, or there's probably reasons to it, but this car is clearly capable of outrunning a Veyron without any problem whatsoever. So this thing is damn fast, and in this game it tends to be reflected quite well here. It's quite easy for me to be hitting speeds of over 200 miles an hour, but the thing is the fact that this car really, oh god, that's a bad sign to hear, because I didn't want that to pick up in the recording, because this car tends to have a lot of attributes to which to slide around quite a bit, so it tends to just you can't get the grip that you could with the Elise. The Elise could just warp around corners and go insanely quicker on them. The Venom, though, can still take corners at a pretty good speed. It just doesn't have the same gripping power as the Elise does, which brings the car down quite a bit for that particular reason. So with this, you really gotta attribute more to the car's speed and just hope that you can keep the car stable enough around the corners so that you can get a really promising time out of it. But nevertheless, it's still a really, it's still a mod I really recommend. The mod itself looks really nice and clean. It's really well done. Now, of course, there isn't much customization options, but I suppose what can you do? There's only so much that you can base the car with, because of fact, of course, there isn't really any actual Venoms out there in the world that are probably modified to some really silly thing. And the car, you know, the car just, and honestly, I think I prefer like that. I mean, if I were not to choose unique paint vinyls, you could paint the car any other color you want. So if you really wanted like a blue one, you could easily, of course, do that. It's just that I wanted to show off the unique color, the 3 unique colors that was made by the modder, because a lot of modders tend to do that, since you know, it's really the easiest way to do so. With that, to say the least. But nevertheless, the car, once you get it down, you're gonna probably be having one fun time here. As you saw there, the 53.17 time was a pretty quick time. It's faster than the car it replaces, which is nice. And it probably all comes down to the fact that the car just has so much speed. The Elise is fast, don't get me wrong, but the thing with the Elise is that it suffers a bit more in the top end department, and maybe even in some extent the acceleration too. The Venom just has the Elise speed on that, so that's where the Venom can make up more of its time despite the handling. So it's a bit of a slidey, but it's still a pretty damn good car, which makes this I'd say quite a solid recommendation. It's certainly well worth getting a pick if you ever decide to put some mods into the game. So next up we go to a bit of a classic. It is the very first car that was ever made a mod into Need for Speed Most Wanted, the Ferrari 360 Spider. This specific model is a convert of the 360 Spider that's found in Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. And this is a V2 version of the mod that was made basically because the original mod that also comes with the mod loader, you can't paint the car. It's stuck with a red color. So this V2 one, which of course will be linked, excuse me, basically allows you to paint the car, allows you to put some spoilers on it, which I won't be doing, and roof scoops are also possible, which interestingly enough, it actually puts them on the hood of the car to make it kind of more like an engine blower. It looks just too silly though, and I'm not going to be doing that, and of course I'm not a fan of roof scoops to begin with anyways. So this was requested by Racer X NFS, or Angel, and it replaces the Mercedes-Benz SL65 AMG. I'm also going with the V2 because performance, it's pretty much exactly the same as the original 360 Spider, so it's a bit of a fair thing to show off here. So it's time to go to Petersburg once again and see how we fare. One second. Okay. Sorry, I'm just having a little bit of snack. I didn't really eat lunch today, so I'm just having at least something so I don't go starving. So the thing with the 360 Spider is, like the Mercedes SL65 that replaces, it can only have Junkman parts. There's no like ultimate parts that you can put on it or nothing. So we're not gonna be expecting a particularly quick car. At least in terms of what we saw with the Hennessey Venom GT, but it doesn't really tend to matter too much with this car because the handling does play to its strengths. It's got quite a bit some grip to it, so it can easily get around the corners without much of an issue at all. And you know, it's largely because of that we'll still be seeing a decent time out of this. We're not going to be seeing. This will most likely wouldn't be seen near the bottom of the field, simply because of the fact that it's at least got enough handling to get it around the corners, which basically the same can't be said for some of the other ones. So Angel really wanted me to show off this, specifically the 360 Spider, because of the fact that it is the first car mod that was ever made for the game, and it's got a bit of a significance to it for that reason. So it's a bit of a It's basically, I guess in his mind, might as well show off the one that started it all, because, you know, it makes it special in that way. So, and I can fully understand where he's coming from with that. So, you know, but of course, as you probably know me, I'll just make videos of whatever I'm requested to do for the mod thing. So pretty much it doesn't really matter to me, anyways. But basically, as you can just see there, the handling is the thing that helps at least keep the car get around these corners at good speeds, and it's definitely what helps give it at least a competitive a good lap time. I mean, as you can see there, the lap time's nothing to write home about, but it's honestly still faster than a couple cars that we've seen in the past, because it's just because the fact that it can handle enough to get through these corners at the speeds that it can. It makes up for that. Whereas some other cars whereas a bunch of other cars will definitely outrun it. The 360 Spider just at least has enough grip to get around it, so it kind of works itself around in the long run for that particular reason. And that's honestly why people probably were really happy that mods became a thing, not just because of the possibilities that would later come, but because of the fact that that at least the car that you're given is not something that's just a complete wasted thing that's really slow and not really gonna give you much benefit, apart from the fact that, hey, it's a mod that exists for this game. Now this V2 one in specific was released about a year, I think, after the first one. So, you know, And I imagine people wanted to be able to drive the car on, but probably didn't like the fact that, oh, I can't paint it anything else other than red. I kept it a sort of red because it's a Ferrari, you know, it makes sense to have it be red. Excuse me. But, you know, I imagine people probably weren't huge on the fact that it retained, that it could only be red, so this mod was basically created to update it, to give a few more things, as well as the fact of being able to let you paint it any other color you want, so... excuse me. But nevertheless, it's interesting to see just how far we've come in terms of modding. Just from something as simple as a Hopper Suit 2 conversion to this game to something like the Hennessey Venom GT that we saw earlier. It's definitely a great advancement of just how far the modding scene for this game pretty much has become, and there are still people who mod cars into this game to this date, and probably will remain the same for at least another few years to come. Hopefully it'll never die out, but of course you never know with these things for sure. And finally, the last car we have here, requested by The Real Emil, is a Fiat 1000 Tc Abarth. Yes, we got an old Fiat 500 race car basically here, which is a little bit off-center for some reason, which is kind of weird. But the nice thing is it does have other body options, which basically 2 different liveries, and then this red paint for some reason. Now this is not the car itself is not normally red like the thing is replaced. It's just the fact that it's just red. You can just have it without livery. I'm personally gonna go for this particular Martini one here because I quite like the way this thing looks. Of course, though, you can't normally do anything else in terms of spoilers or hoods or roof scoops, as you probably would expect. You can't add any vinyls to it. You can, of course, obviously put a window tint on it, so we're going to give it a nice dark blue to kind of go with the livery just a little bit. And there you go. I actually don't remember what this car replaces, so I'm going to quickly look off screen on what it replaces and get back to you about that. Right, well, I've just checked for the car now, and as it turns out, it replaces the... Oh, dear God. What is this thing? Whoa, hello. Well, I guess thank God I changed the format of my thing, because what is this car? What is possessed in this thing? This thing replaces the Subaru Impreza WRX STI, by the way. Now, after driving the Sonic Speedstar, I thought nothing was going to come close to beating that time. This thing is doing, on that section, did almost 300 miles an hour. Holy hell, this thing is absolutely possessing. Oh my God, where is that turn? Look at that, that was the first lap, and I pretty much almost already beat the Sonic Speedstar by about 2 seconds, and that was on a starting lap. So, now, I don't particularly know if this was the plan all along to have this car be this fast, but my God. This thing is just ridiculously quick. I never expected this in my life. Look at 300 miles an hour. Just, that's nuts. This little Fiat 1000 Tc Abarth does 300 miles an hour. 300 miles an hour. And that didn't even hit the top speed of this thing, too. This thing could just keep going, too. See, look, I managed to still do a better lap even with that little screw-up. It's just... Oh, my God. Sonic, eat your heart out. You are not the fastest thing alive, at least in this game. If I find anything that beats this Fiat, I'm going to be amazed. This thing is on a level like no other. And it seems to turn a little better if you apply the brakes, I find. Makes it a little bit sharper. Not that it has to be sharper already. I mean, look how damn fast this thing goes to begin with. It's like, does it really need to be? But this thing is just maniacal. Maniacal, I tell you. 4220. 4220. I had a Nissan Skyline R34 DTM edition that did a 5202. And for a while, I thought that car was going to be sitting comfortably. Then the Peugeot 406 Taxi comes along, and it gets a 50.17. Then the Sonic Speedstar, and that does a 46.42. This is pretty much already 4 seconds faster than that thing. Because it's just the most mental thing I have ever driven in my life, at least in this game. I've never driven any mod throughout the years of playing this game that have ever gone particularly this fast. It's just on a level like no other. 308 miles an hour, and look at that, 41.09. Emil, I hope you're happy, because your car, if the Sonic Speedstar did not destroy my leaderboard before, then your car certainly did. So, of course, that means we lead to the top, to the times for where these cars, of course, land on the leaderboard. So, as we come to the leaderboard here, just to show it off, of course, where else would the Fiat 1000tc Abarth go here? It goes right into first place with a ludicrous 41.09 second time, over 5 seconds faster than the Sonic Speedstar. The Hennessey Venom GT goes into 6th place with a 53.15, edging out my Fairlady Z432 pick, as well as the Ford Model A, and the car it replaces the Lotus Elise a few positions down. It's just very, very, very close off to the BMW M3 GTR. And of course, as we head down here, the Ferrari 360 Spider goes into 36th place with a 59.11 second lap time, beating out the Mitsubishi Eclipse GT by just a bit, and the three-way tie between the Super TT and CTS, but is a tad back on the Audi A3. So pretty much to give you all a perspective, a great car to get this series, to get the modding community started. One hell of a nice driving car in the game with some interesting handling characteristics. And oh my god, what is this car? Will we have any more cars similar to this Fiat? Who knows? But as I know is stay tuned for the next one. If you have any mod suggestions, please feel free to leave them down below. Make sure that if you have suggested, make sure yours has been already done before it goes up. And as always, thank you for watching, and take care.